Hello, my darlings. Mother Raven here with Chapter 3 of Silver Ticket by William Schoene. I walked out of my bedroom and made my way to the kitchen. I was hungrier than a carpet shark during a food shortage. When I opened Aunt Vicky's refrigerator, I was met with a whole lot of disappointment. Everything in the fridge was not to my liking. There was skim milk, sugar-free grape jelly, a 6-pack of Diet Pepsi, cheese-filled hot dog, and worst of all, turkey bacon. I always hated turkey bacon. The rest of the items in the fridge were beer and whiskey, too much of it for anyone to be drinking. There was a 12-pack of Budweiser, 9 6-packs of Miller Lite, and 24-pack of double IPA. The rest were numerous bottles of Jack Daniel's whiskey. This was definitely the fridge of an alcoholic. Disgusted, I slammed the fridge. There was nothing for me to eat here. That was when I remembered that Dad had given me some money for this summer. $1,000 to be exact. So I decided I would be going out for breakfast this morning. I walked out of the kitchen and went down the hall back to my bedroom. Then I got on my phone and looked up some restaurants in St. Matthews. Much to my luck, I found a few. They were across the street from the mall. As I was about to look up their hours to see if they were open, my phone died. Shit, I hissed to myself. I decided to wait until I had enough energy to power up again. But I was met with a loud growl from my empty stomach. That was when I decided waiting wasn't an option. Leaving my phone on the charger, I left the house. Shutting the door behind me, I realized I would need a key if Aunt Vicky was going to be gone. Then again, I doubted that anyone would rob her in this neighborhood. I bet the only crime they get in St. Matthews was the occasional parking ticket. I walked down the street, my stomach roaring with hunger, and the sun's light was starting to overtake the night sky. I noticed that the neighborhood was quite active at this hour. People were going to work, and some were returning home from their night shift jobs. When I was out of Aunt Vicky's neighborhood, I was met with the sight of the mall. That's when I knew I was near a few restaurants close by Aunt Vicky's neighborhood. My options were Chick-fil-A, Arby's, and McDonald's. There was also a Logan's Roadhouse and an Outback Steakhouse, but I knew they weren't open this early. I decided to go to McDonald's because I liked their breakfast. Plus, they had a better selection of breakfast than most fast food places. After a lengthy walk to the restaurant, I walked inside. I saw that there were 3 registers open, and they each had a line that wasn't moving very fast. Meanwhile, there was a group of people passing out brochures to everyone in line. There was also a table set up outside with people buying tickets to something. I had not noticed that before I walked in, so I walked outside to see what was going on. I approached the table and asked the girl at the table what this was all about. "This is a trip to the future, my friend," she said. "Only $20, and you can witness how this world turns out, and all of the amazing cities and—" "We need more brochures," said an Asian boy my age walking out of McDonald's. "You just interrupted my advertising, Matt," she said. "You can amuse customers later. We need to get people to buy tickets." Fuming, the girl gave him a wad of brochures. "I'll buy a ticket," I said, handing her a $20 bill. She then handed me a brochure and a large silver ticket. It looked like the ones from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but silver, and it read, "Prepare the future," on it in big, bright print. I thanked her for the ticket and walked back into McDonald's. As I stood in line, I read the brochure, and it showed pictures of big, futuristic cities and stuff you'd see in movies. It told me how lucky I was to be taking a trip to the future in a time machine called the Vessel. When I got my food, I dove into my hotcakes and sausages with joy, knowing it was going to be better than any food I would receive from Aunt Vicky. After I was finished, I threw away my trash and started walking back to Aunt Vicky's house. When I got back, I found Aunt Vicky sitting in an armchair reading a Bible. She didn't acknowledge me when I walked through the front door. This didn't surprise me. She was probably imagining she was on Noah's Ark. I went back to my room and closed the door. I looked at my phone, and I was glad to see it was at 35%. I grabbed my 3DS and began playing Super Mario 3D Land. I was on the way to having the game 100% complete, and I decided to spend the next few hours continuing to do so. After I was finished playing, I turned the game off and put the DS3 on the charger. I walked into the living room and found Aunt Vicky still reading her Bible. "Aunt Vicky," I said. She looked up from her Bible and removed her reading glasses. "What, Sam?" she replied, irritated that I was interrupting her reading. "Do you want to do something?" I asked. "Like what?" she asked. "Go out to eat? Maybe catch a movie? Or, you mean you want me to be out there around all that sinfulness? You must be out of your mind. What are you talking about? You see it all the time. Girls walking around with shorts, showing off their butt. Sex and violence in the media all the time. Do you think I want to be out there?" I gave her a confused look. If I could afford to do so, I would live in the woods away from all of this mess. We're in the last days, and I refuse to risk corrupting myself with sin. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to get my studies in. I walked out of the living room and back into my bedroom. I then unplugged my phone and my 3DS and walked into the living room. When I opened the front door, I looked back at Aunt Vicky. I watched as the old woman delved deeper and deeper into that book of hers. If only she knew the truth. When I closed the door behind me, I quickly made my way down the street in the direction of the mall, St. Matthew's. Instead of looking for food, I was going to do some shopping this time. When I walked into the mall, I decided to go to my favorite store first, and that was GameStop. On my way there, I noticed that the mall was kind of full. It was noon, and I didn't expect it to have as many shoppers as it did. When I arrived at GameStop, I went to the 3DS section and started browsing. And as I was looking through the games, I saw out of the corner of my eye the Asian guy who was giving out brochures at McDonald's. "Hey," I said, turning to him, "aren't you that guy I saw earlier?" "Yeah," he replied. "You bought a ticket, didn't you?" "Yeah. We're getting a lot of people coming with us this time. It's going to be great seeing new faces." "Yeah, about that? What exactly do you mean by a trip to the future?" I asked. He opened his mouth to explain, but he was interrupted by the girl who sold me the ticket. "Matt, we're done for the day," she told him. "Sophia and James are taking over the last shifts." She looked at me and raised her eyebrow. "Who's this?" she asked. "I'm Sam," I greeted. "I saw you guys at McDonald's, remember?" She ignored me and turned her attention to Matt. "I'm so glad we're leaving in 3 days. This place is a dump. I can't wait until we go further in the—" "Deborah!" Matt growled. Deborah gave me an embarrassed smirk. She turned her attention back to Matt. "Well, like I told you earlier," Deborah said, nervously changing the subject, "I'm going to catch a movie." "Right behind you," said Matt. "Sam, would you like to come with us?" "Sure," I accepted. I thought I might as well go with my new acquaintances since I didn't have anything else to do. We walked to the nearby movie theater and we walked inside. I won't tell you what we went to go see, but let's just say it was a terrible movie. "Picked a terrible movie, Deborah," Matt complained. "I agree," I added. "What can I say? I'm just a sucker for horror movies," said Deborah. Deborah looked at her watch. "Holy shit, we're late for the meeting," she panicked. "Oh God," Matt snorted. "What meeting?" I asked. The trip to the future meeting. They occur before the trip happens. Can I come with you? I asked. Do you have your ticket? Yeah. Then let's go, Matt shouted. We rushed out of the theater and to the parking lot. We all got into Matt's car and we sped out of the parking lot. He drove us to an old townhouse in Old Louisville. When we found a place to park, we scrambled out of the car and we burst inside. We were met with a man in a black suit and tie standing by a projector. He seemed to be giving a lecture and looked irritated that we had just suddenly burst in and interrupted him. Matt, Deborah, the man said calmly, I'm glad you could finally join us. Matt and Deborah took a seat with the audience to hide their shame for being late. Are you a new recruit for our trip to the future? The man asked me. Yes, sir, I answered politely. Then take a seat. I'll take your ticket shortly. Welcome to the future, new fish. So quoth this raven.